Hello everybody. So today's topic is on assay of clotting factors, euglobulin clot lysis test, platelet function test, flow cytometry, and clotting factor assay. So before going on to the proper topic, I would like to remind you about the diagnostic tests involved in coagulation profile. It includes bleeding time, clotting time, prothrombin time, and the international normalized ratio, activated partial thromboplastin time, thrombin time, fibrin degradation products, fibrinogen assay, Van Willebrand's antigen assay, and coagulation factor assay. On the right hand side, you can see all the normal ranges are given. That is, bleeding time is less than 7 minutes, clotting time is 4 to 9 minutes, prothrombin time with INR is 11 to 13 seconds with INR of 1, activated partial thromboplastin time is 15 to 30 seconds, thrombin time is 3 to 6 seconds, fibrin degradation products is less than 10 microgram per deciliter, fibrinogen assay 200 to 400 milligram per deciliter, Van Willebrand's antigen is 60 to 150% Van Willebrand activity, coagulation factor assay should be 60 to 100% of factor 8 activity. So brief about prothrombin time, it mainly measures the extrinsic pathway, that is factor 8 of extrinsic pathway. It also measures factor 10, 5, 2, 1 of the common pathway, measures the 3 vitamin K dependent factors, that is 2, 7 and 10 but not factor 9. It's prolonged in deficiency of 1, 2, 5, 7 and 10. It is prolonged in liver disease, and also it is prolonged in oral anticoagulant therapy. Prothrombin time is shortened following the treatment with recombinant factor 7A. Then most common use of prothrombin time is monitoring the oral anticoagulant therapy like warfarin. APTT is activated partial thromboplastin time, and it measures the time required for fibrin clot to form when the plasma is incubated with activator, partial thromboplastin and calcium. It also measures the activation of contact factors. It measures the intrinsic factors like factor 12, factor 11, factor 9 and factor 8. Common pathway of which includes factor 10, factor 5, factor 2 and 1. It's prolonged in deficiency of all the factors except for factor 7 and factor 13. It is prolonged in presence of inhibitors, specific inhibitors of factor 8 and factor 9, and non-specific inhibitors like heparin. It is shortened in elevated factor 8. Then it is mainly used for monitoring the heparin therapy. Therein prothrombin time was mainly used to monitor the oral anticoagulant therapy like warfarin, whereas APTT is mainly used for monitoring heparin therapy. So types of assay: functional assays, clot-based assays and chromogenic assay is done. In clot-based assay, it is a good screening assay. It's based on functioning cascade affected by pre-analytic variables and may require additional testing. It measures the activity of specific enzyme rather than the general biological function. It's not affected by pre-analytic variables. Immunological based assays, that is ELISA based technologies, most of them measure the protein present rather than the function. Some measure the functional component also. Confirmatory assays, DNA based assays. So types of deficiency of clotting factors, there are two types, type 1 deficiency and type 2 deficiency. Type 1 deficiency, it's parallel reduction in both the function and amount of protein present. It's a true deficiency, and functional assay is done in these cases, that is clot based assay is done. Type 2 deficiency represents the dysproteinemia, wherein the total amount of protein is more than its activity. So functional as well as antigenic assay will be performed in type 2 deficiency. Now coming to factor assay, it is used to establish the percentage of activity of circulating factor. Procedure goes like: patient's plasma deficit in specific factor is collected and it is diluted with a normal plasma which is deficit in the specific factor above. The dilution done are at 110, 120, 1:40 dilutions are taken. Then we perform PT APTT and compare the seconds to the standard curve. These tests are called as mixing curves because we are mixing the patient plasma with the normal plasma which is deficit in the specific factor. If the prothrombin time is normal at 1/10 dilution, it means the factor has 100% activity. If at 1/20th dilution, it means it has 50% activity. If it has 25% activity, it means it at 1/40th dilution. Platelet plasma is run in multiple dilutions to check for any presence of inhibitors. So the graph is shown here, clotting time and factor concentration, and there is a standard curve, and to which the patient graph is also marked. So factor 8 assay. One stage factor 8 assay based on APTT is used to perform for the diagnosis of factor 8 deficiency. Coagulation factor assay are based on ability of patient's plasma to correct the specific factor deficit plasma. The ability of the dilutions of the standard plasma and the patient plasma to correct the APTT of the plasma known to be completely deficit in factor 8. Then the results are plotted on log bar log graph paper wherein clotting time in seconds and percentage factor activity is recorded. If the 110 dilution is considered as 100% activity and factor 8 activity of 50 to 150 percentage is considered normal. Next important is anti-10A heparin assay. Specifically determines the anticoagulant activity of low molecular weight heparin, unfractionated heparin by measuring the ability of heparin-bound antithrombin to inhibit a single enzyme. More specific than APTT since it measures only the single enzyme, and major advantage is lack of biological factors that affect the result. But the limitation of the assays, clinical data examining outcomes is limited. Next is euglobulin clot lysis time. This is a test which reflects the overall fibrinolytic activity of the plasma. In many cases, it has now been replaced by specific functional and immunological assays. What is the principle and method of doing euglobulin clot lysis test? Venous blood is collected in a chilled tubes containing trisodium citrate as an anticoagulant and it is placed on ice. The sample is then centrifuged at 4 degrees centigrade. The plasma sample is collected, diluted with acetic acid and incubated on the ice for 15 minutes. A precipitate forms, that is euglobulin fraction of plasma, which contains plasminogen, plasminogen activator and fibrinogen. Then the supernatant is collected by centrifugation in the refrigerated centrifuge at 4 degrees centigrade. The supernatant is discarded and the precipitate is dissolved in the buffer. This is then clotted with thrombin and the time of clot lysis determined by inspection every 15 minutes. The control plasma sample collected at the same time as the patient sample must be run in parallel. So this is the image showing which illustrates the euglobulin clot lysis test. 3 tubes are there. Tube 2 and 3 are controls which show no lysis, whereas tube 1 there is obvious lysis indicating hyperfibrinolysis. Next, coming to fibrin degradation products. Fibrin degradation products are the substances that remain in our body bloodstream after body dissolves the blood clot. Fibrinolytic system manages and regulates the clot dissolving. When the clot and fibrin net dissolves, the fragments of proteins are released into the body. These fragments are fibrin degradation products. If the body is unable to dissolve the clot, then may have abnormal levels of FTPs. Then there will be abnormal levels of FTPs. The fibrin degradation products test is a specific test that determines the amount of FTPs in your blood. The test is known as fibrin split product test also, or fibrin breakdown products test. Determination of fibrin degradation products. For determination of fibrin degradation products, blood is collected in the tube containing thrombin and soybean trypsin inhibitor. Why thrombin? Because it removes all the fibrinogen by converting it into a clot, and trypsin to inhibit the plasmin and thus prevent in vitro breakdown of fibrin. Okay. The suspension of latex particles linked to the anti-fibrinogen antibodies is mixed with the dilution of the patient's serum on the glass slide. If FTPs are present, agglutination of the latex particles occurs. The highest dilution of serum at which agglutination is detected is used to determine concentration of FTPs. Increased FTPs occurs in disseminated intravascular coagulation, deep vein thrombosis, severe pneumonia, and recent myocardial infarction. So this chart shows you all latex particles coated with anti-fibrinogen antibodies to which fibrinogen or fibrin degradation products attach, and there will be agglutination. If there is no agglutination, it's a negative test, and agglutination indicates a positive test. So this was about assay of clotting factors, how do you determine the fibrin degradation products, how do you determine euglobulin clot test. And next one is platelet function tests. Different methods are used for platelet function tests. These include right transmission platelet aggregometer, whole blood aggregometer, platelet function analyzer, and flow cytometry. So platelet function testing. The platelet function testing is indicated to determine if bleeding is due to the defective platelet function. So important platelet functions are adhesion, activation, granular release, and aggregation. Defective platelet function suspected when patient count is normal in the setting of bleeding, that is characteristic of disorder of primary hemostasis. Light transmission platelet aggregometer is the gold standard for the platelet function testing. Platelet function is evaluated by observing response of the platelets to agonist that bind to the platelets via the receptors, leading to the activation and aggregation. So I repeat this slide. Platelet function test is indicated to determine the bleeding is due to defective platelet function, that is adhesion, activation, granular release and aggregation. And light transmission platelet aggregometer is the gold standard for platelet function testing. Now what is the method? First is the specimen collection, wherein the patient should not take any medication which will affect the platelet function for 10 to 14 days before the specimen is collected, and the specimen will be collected in 3.2% sodium citrate in the ratio of 1:9, where citrate is 1 part and whole blood is 9 parts. After the collection, the samples should be transported to the laboratory at room temperature. The tube should not be subjected to vibration, shaking, vortexing, continuous mixing or agitation. Samples should be tested before 30 minutes and no more than 4 hours after the blood is collected. So mind you, the test should be conducted from within 4 hours after collection of the sample. Citrate, how do you process the specimen? Citrated PRP is prepared, that is platelet rich plasma. This is prepared by centrifugation of 800 to 1000 rotations per minute for 15 to 20 minutes. Platelet count should be 2 lakh to 4 lakh, and if it is more than 4 lakh, the concentration will be adjusted to autologous platelet poor plasma. Platelet rich plasma is added to the cuvette at 37 degrees centigrade and pre-incubated for 5 minutes. The platelet rich plasma is stirred at a recommended speed, that is 1000 to 1200 rpm, using magnet stir bar in order to allow the platelets to come in contact with each other. So instrument calibration is very important. So aggregometers are calibrated for light transmission using autologous platelet rich plasma and platelet poor plasma. 100% transmission is set for autologous platelet pure plasma, that is PPP, and 0% transmission is set for PRP, platelet rich plasma, and a stable baseline established before the addition of agonists. Now, what are these agonists? These will be added at the maximum 1/10th volume of the agonist to the PRP to initiate the aggregation. The most commonly used baseline panel of agonists are ADP, that is adenine diamine phosphate, then collagen, epinephrine, arachidonic acid and resorcistin. Now light transmission aggregometer measures the change in the optical density of SIRD PRP that occurs after addition of an agonist. Aggregation tracing presence change in the light transmission, that is on the y-axis, against the time in minutes, that is on the x-axis. Several parameters are evaluated for interpretation of these studies, that is lag phase, platelet shape change, primary aggregation slope, secondary aggregation slope, then disaggregation, maximum amplitude and percentage aggregation will be plotted. So this is the graph showing the platelet function test through light transmission aggregometer. So for this I have given an example of Bernard-Collier disease and Van Willebrand's disease, which are the important disease because of the specific deficiency of the glycoprotein on their surfaces. So here you can see there is lack of agglutination of resorcistin. You can see agglutination has occurred at ADP, then adrenaline and collagen, that is the red line. Blue line is a normal curve, and resortistin shows no agglutination at all. So this would give us the diagnosis of Van Willebrand disease or Bernard-Collier syndrome. Second example given here is, you can see the red lines on top, with there is no agglutination after addition of ADP, adrenaline and collagen, whereas incomplete agglutination is seen with that of resorcistin. So this could be a disease of Glanzmann's thromboasthenia. So this was about platelet aggregometer, where light transmission aggregometer is the most standard application. Now I'll talk on flow cytometry for the platelet function test. Diagnosis of what are the applications of flow cytometry platelet function test? Mainly it is used for diagnosis of platelet function disorders, that is for the clinical quantification of surface glycoprotein receptor density. Glanzmann's thromboasthenia, where flow cytometry shows lack of GP2B and 3A, and Bernard-Collier syndrome shows lack of GP1B. Platelet activation markers. This includes degranulation markers, that is CD62P, CD63 and CD40L, measuring platelet production, accurate platelet counting and platelet RBC ratio, and antiplatelet drug monitoring. So these are the application of flow cytometry in platelet function tests. So today's class I have finished assay of clotting factors, fibrin degradation products, then euglobulin clot test, and use of light transmission aggregometer for platelet function, and use of flow cytometry in platelet function test. Thank you.